welcome to this miniature version of Monkey Broadcast with me, the Jonin Monkey.
And me, Sven the Crusader, traveling the Spice Tame Continuum.
Well, that's a great way to start things off.
Yeah, sure, let's leave it at that.
So yes, as you figured out by, well, reading the title of the video, there's no point trying to be suspenseful with that thing hanging above us. This is an episode dedicated to Doctor Who. Last weekend, they announced who the new Doctor is. And the new Doctor is, drumroll, Peter Capaldi!
Who neither of us had heard of.
No, not really. I mean, people tell me he was in the thick of it, but I never watched that show, so...
Yeah, the only thing I watched of the thick of it was after he was announced, and I look forward to seeing how he switches from that role, because I don't think I've seen that much swearing outside of YouTube comment wars.
Yeah, that's the gist of what I hear about his role in the thick of it, but... I watched a live show when it was announced, and I've got to say, whilst I love Doctor Who, that was the most pointless thing that has ever been put on TV, frankly.
Yeah, I don't know what the purpose of that whole big announcement thing was for. I mean, David Tennant didn't get one of those. Matt Smith didn't get one of those. What were they trying to do? Build hype so they could get viewers back?
Yeah, it was just... It's very weird, like, the entire show just basically summed up everything we already knew, like, oh, the Doctor is regenerated several times. Oh, and here's Matt Smith. He's leaving now. Let's talk about Matt Smith and how good he was. Oh, and here's the actor. We're not actually going to show you in his costume or how he actually performs the role or what he's like, so we're just going to say he's the actor, ask him a few questions, and then bugger off.
That was basically the size of it. It was just a whole bunch of people waffling on before we got like 10 minutes of it being introduced to the 12th Doctor. Yeah,
and to be honest, the only good thing about it was, I forget his name offhand, Rufus Hound, that was it. That one comedian they got on who tried to make a witty reference to the line, 4 knocks and he'll die, screwed up, and then just buried his face in his hand as everyone in the room turned against him. That was the only thing.
Oh, I don't even remember that part. I was too bored.
Yeah, I'll be honest, that was the only good part of the show. So while this is a cool announcement, I'm not really sure we can say much about this, because like I said, the only main performance he's famous for is the thick of it, and it's pretty clear that it's not going to be anything like the Doctor, not just because that show's geared towards an entirely different audience, but the Doctor is such a unique character, like, it doesn't matter what role you go into, it will never be the same, so...
Yeah, although it's just worth noting, out of pure amusement, that this marks the second time that one of the incarnations of the Doctor has previously appeared on the show. The first was Colin Baker, who appeared as a random red shirt soldier way back in the 70s. Now we have Peter Capaldi, who appeared as a Roman patrician in the fires of Pompeii.
Wow, I'd completely forgotten about that one.
It's one of the things people have been bringing up a lot on Tumblr, which is where I get most of my 12th Doctor hype and most of my fandom hype, because that's where fandoms go now, apparently.
Including my blog, thejohnnymonkey.tumblr.com, Tumblr without an E for some reason.
Plug, advertise. You get the drill.
I am shameless. Anyway.
Now, before we go into a musical number...
Yeah, point is, if I had no idea how Matt Smith was going to perform the role when they announced him, we have absolutely no idea how Peter Capaldi is going to play the role, so I think it's best to say just wait and see on that front.
Yeah, because as of now, all we know of Peter Capaldi is trivia. Basically.
Pretty much. And since we can't fill a video on that news, I guess we may as well turn our attention to the man who's leaving. Matt Smith, the 11th Doctor, who, how long has he been doing the role now? 2 or 3 years?
I think it'll be 4, because they count 2010 in it.
Oh yeah, good point. I mean, he appeared in the last 5 minutes of, what was it? Journey's End, that was it.
The End of Time, actually.
Curses!
I have out Doctor Who nerded someone.
Oh, damn it, I feel like Rufus Hound.
Well, at least you don't feel like the guy who accidentally called Christopher Eccleston Peter Eccleston.
Oh, dear.
And got heckled by the entire room.
Yeah. Oh, sigh. Yeah, point is, Matt Smith is doing the role, and I'm gonna say, I don't know if Sven feels the same way, but whilst I admit I haven't seen all of the Doctors, Matt Smith is definitely one of my personal favourites. I would say he's definitely right up the top 3 for me, just speaking personally. I know many people will disagree with me, but that's my personal opinion on it. It's kind of hard to describe why, but just the absolute energy he put into the role, the way he could go from restrained to just outright insane, it was just really, really great to watch. Even if the story was, well, let's face it, crap, he could always deliver, at least in my view, anyway.
Yeah, I'd be inclined to agree, because if there's one thing you can say about his Doctor, it's that his Doctor has many, many facets. Like, you have the insane stunned puppy that he seems to be most of the time. You have the oncoming storm, which you see in episodes like The Pandorica Opens and Rings of Akaten, as crappy as that episode was.
Yeah.
And then you just have the pure-out humor that you get in things like, oh, what was it, The Lodger?
Yeah, I totally agree. It's the many different facets, and the fact that even if the lines are incredibly simple, the way Matt plays it, it's like you can never really... I'm tempted to say you can never tell what he's thinking, but it's more like you can never predict what he's going to do next, in a way.
Yeah, I think I get what you mean.
To be fair, some of it might have to do with Moffat's change in the story of regression, the way they changed the Doctor, because I think the second season under Moffat's reign was pretty much undoing the hype Russell T Davies had built for the Doctor ever since New Who started, trying to make it so that the Doctor wasn't basically the space messiah.
Yeah, I mean, I will give Moffat that, even though after season 5 his writing spiraled like an out-of-control rocket.
Yeah, basically what I'm trying to say is that he took the Doctor in a new direction, so that might have something to do with it, but Matt's pretty much brought that version of the Doctor to life in my mind. At times he could be a bit over the top, I admit that. I mean, some people were saying he didn't have the gravity as David Tennant, like when his Doctor entered the room, you know he was in control, but I think, like I said before, it's more the unpredictable nature I like about Matt Smith's character, is that he's not trying to take control of anything, he's just along for the ride.
Yeah, I think I get what you mean whenever it comes to that. And I really wouldn't even say that you can't tell that he's in control of the situation, because let's be honest, Matt Smith's Doctor, whenever he got intimidating, I took it way more seriously than I took Tennant.
Are you saying you could not take I'm the winner, Time Lord Victoria seriously?
Yeah, I might be implying that.
I think also people often forget that Matt Smith's Doctor, he could be restrained sometimes, and some of the funnier lines come from the moments when it was a bit more restrained, like, don't be fair to the Daleks when they're firing me at a planet.
Yeah, and the thing about that is he didn't even have to be restrained to be hilarious. Like, think back to Series 5, which I will always say is probably my favorite in this series, aside from the very first New Who series. Think back to Vampires of Venice and how we saw Matt Smith's Doctor fanboy over finding vampires.
Good point. Oh man, I completely forgot about Vampires of Venice. It's been that long.
I really liked that episode, because for once it was like the part of Russell Davis's New Who series that I liked. The episodic nature, rather than the long, drawn-out, oversaturated, single story thread.
Yeah, that was also the problem with Moffat's second series, I will say that.
Yeah, I mean, the dude could write a really good episode now and again. I mean, he wrote Blink, he wrote absolutely probably my favorite 2 episodes, The Doctor Dances. But, he cannot do long drawn-out stories. For talk.
No. No. Actually, he says a lot of the time the climax isn't quite as good. I mean, damn it, I'm trying to remember that finale of the first Moffat run.
Oh,
the Waiting in River Song, that was...
Oh. I was thinking
no,
wait,
no.
very first.
No, wait, no, crap, I'm getting the finales mixed up now, damn it!
It's the very first Moffat series, right?
Yeah.
The Big Bang.
The Big Bang, yes, that one I really enjoyed, even if it didn't quite explain what was actually causing it half the time, I still really enjoyed that finale.
Yeah, like, Moffat's entire first series was absolutely brilliant, but then I don't know what happened, but he tried to write plot.
Yeah. Getting back on the topic, point is, they've created a really engageable, really funny, and also very intimidating at times Doctors, and even when he got a massive short stick in terms of writing, he always managed to make it somewhat passable.
Honestly, whenever the writing got really bad, he was what carried it.
Yeah. The only time I could think of his performance working against it was Nightmare in Silver, where it was pretty much a ham battle between himself.
And how many actors can you say had a ham battle between themselves?
Yeah. But yeah, his was a really great run, and I wish him all the best in whatever he plans to do.
Yeah.
So, while we're here, remember that whole thing where I said I was going to review the entirety of Series 7, and then I didn't, because I completely forgot about it, and there was other stuff to do?
Yeah.
I should probably do that.
That's a good point.
Oh dear. Admittedly, I do realize that I kind of screwed up a little bit, since technically I only reviewed the second half of Series 7, because, as it turns out, I did not realize this just because of, this is actually one of the Season 7's detriments. What I reviewed was actually the second half of it. The last episode before I started reviewing it was The Angels Take Manhattan, which saw the departure of the Doctor's previous companions, the Ponds, and for the record, was also an absolutely terrible episode, and quite possibly one of my least favourite in the entire series, or at least new series anyway. So.
Yeah. You know, we'll get into that.
Yeah, all I'll say about this episode, because if you actually asked me to give any more information, I could be here for about an hour. But basically, I'll just sum it up as it was an absolutely terrible idea in the first place. It just pisses me off even more that it was also meant to act as the anticlimactic departure for two of my favourite characters. So.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I mean, I'm not completely sure how they could have improved that episode, but they could have done without the ending.
Well, to be honest, there's one very simple way they could have improved the episode. Throw away the script and come up with something else. I'll have to say, one of the detriments to the series overall, I think, is that they took the mid-season break. I mean, the second series, okay, I could kind of understand it, since they were basically throwing cliffhanger after cliffhanger after cliffhanger after cliffhanger at us. This series, when there wasn't really a myth arc until pretty much the very end, it really wasn't necessary. We just got two really short seasons, in all honesty.
Yeah, two really short seasons that didn't really have anything remarkable happen in them.
Pretty much.
Except the very end of the second one. I
know, right? Don't get me wrong, the myth arc of the second one was really overdone and just seemed to permeate into everything and got a bit too much. But in this case, we had the exact opposite extreme. Everything was episodic, but with the occasional sentence. It's like watching certain web shows where the only way to follow the storyline is to try and catch a sentence that happens right at the very end.
Yeah, that's precisely it.
The only time anything big or important happened was right at the very end, when all of a sudden we got a dramatic reveal that provided a setup for the anniversary coming in November, which is still too far away. But yeah, other than that, I'd say, looking back at the second half of Series 7, which is what I reviewed, I don't know what it was, whether it was just the cheapness of the budget or just rushing to get the episode out on time, but I'd say the only episode I genuinely, 100% absolutely serious, not in an ironic fashion, enjoyed was Cold War, even though I know I'm going completely against the majority on that one. Because people really hate it for some reason. But all of the others, the only episodes I kind of enjoyed were Crimson Horror and Nightmare in Silver, but that was more because I enjoyed taking the piss out of them. They were just so stupid, it was just amusing for the ride, really.
That's kind of the issue with these two seasons, I notice. They're just unremarkable most of the time, and all of the rest of the time they're being unremittently bad.
Yeah, I mean, Crimson Horror was just goofy. I mean, as long as you didn't actually pay attention to the plot, it was fun. That was about If it wasn't for the fact that it involved Master's crew, if it had just been some random characters we'd never seen before, I think I would have disliked the episode a lot more. And Nightmare in Silver, well, I prefer to call it Cybermen Invade Alton Towers.
And Matt Smith hams at himself.
Pretty much, yeah. Point is, otherwise, the episodes were, like Sven said, just completely unremarkable, or just... yeah. I mean, Jonin to the center of the TARDIS might have been good if it wasn't for that ridiculous twist with the brother, and on top of that, the way they resolved it. That was just... I still get pissed off about that episode even now.
Yeah. And then for me, one of the deal breakers was that stupid Leaf plot point in the Rings of Akhaten, which would have been a really good episode if not for that.
Yeah, that episode, I was enjoying the start of it, but then it just got sillier and sillier. I mean, there are some episodes I think that probably could have been improved if they were two-parters, so they had time to build up the story a bit more. Because I think the problem with that episode is that it just kept speeding through like different plot points at the speed of light, and so we barely had time to digest them all. But yeah, that Leaf thing just coming right the feck out of nowhere, and that was bad enough on its own, but the fact that they brought it back in the finale of all things.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm not gonna lie here, for the longest time, I thought that the best way they could have made Rings of Akhaten better is if they split it up into two, and made it a big series finale, and had the Doctor actually single-handedly defeat the God Planet, and have that be his regeneration story. Because how best could a Doctor like Matt Smith go out than defeating a god?
Yeah, that actually would have been a great ending, because I remember we were discussing about this in private, and you pointed out that the Somnest City at the moment could technically refer to the Doctor's regeneration as well.
Yeah, and I mean, they love giving the Doctors musical send-offs. I mean, Tennant got an opera piece, so...
Yeah. I think you're right, yeah, that would have made a much better finale for the Doctor send-off, because the reason why the whole Leaf thing pissed me off so much was the fact that after everything that had happened, after the citizens all sang, after the Doctor the Doctor gave up all of his memories, and I think it was Roy Havenstone too, when we were talking in private, he pointed out that it was really strange that the Doctor just offers his entire soul up, essentially, to this creature, and he suffers no ill effect from it, apart from being slightly tired.
Oh my god, that's a good point. The dude just basically offered an entire part of who he is. How does that have absolutely no negative repercussions?
Yeah, but then, no, Clara comes in and saves the day with a magical bloody leaf.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I'm sensing a bit of a Mary Sue in this one.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Clara, or is it Carla? I forget, and honestly I don't care.
Just for reference sake, so we don't get really, really anal people coming after us. Clara.
Yeah, I know it's Clara, but the problem is, when I start talking about it, for some reason, I slip of the tongue, it ends up being Carla, and I don't know. In fairness, her character itself is not terrible, and I don't mind the concept of it that Moffat came up with, where she jumped into time stream, because people have been saying, oh, this basically means that everything the Doctor did was down to Clara. I wouldn't really say that, because all Clara did, in my eyes, was basically stop the Great Intelligence from interfering. Yeah, I will agree the whole thing about her pointing out to William Hartnell, the first Doctor, that, oh, this is the TARDIS you want. That bit felt really unnecessary, but the others, it was just her battling off the Great Intelligence, and you can probably say, well, the reason she ended up showing up in Asylum of the Daleks and the Christmas special was that those were the only time she couldn't do it behind the scenes or out of everyone's way. The main problem I have is that Clara's character has a great concept behind her, but she doesn't really have any kind of character behind her. That's the thing. I mean, I could have gone a bit more like tearful or worried about her great sacrifice if I knew anything about her.
That's the thing. The last batches of companions we've had, from Eccleston to Tennant, all the way to the 11th Doctor's last companions, we knew about and we could care about. Not so here.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the problems of splitting it up with this break. Like, the only supporting cast we have for Clara are the two kids from Nightmare in Silver, and frankly, I want to forget about them. We very rarely saw any kind of characterization from Clara, apart from the fact that she could make slightly witty, slightly flirtatious banter, so kind of like River Song Light at times. The only time that's changed slightly was in Hyde, when she kind of became a sort of whiny, bossy boots type character, which I really didn't care for, in honesty. The fact is, we had so few episodes to actually build up who Clara's character was, and all we really got for her is just cool ideas, but no actual emotional connection to it at all. That's the main problem, and I think that's why people really dislike her going back in time to save the Doctor, because I don't think, I mean, I could be wrong, I haven't checked on the fandom for this, but I don't think people had that big a problem with Rose, like, entering the TARDIS Matrix and, well, temporarily becoming a deity. I think it was Bad Wolf Part 2, who was it, or was...
Yeah, that one you got right.
Hey! But yeah, Bad Wolf Part 2...
Yeah, Bad Wolf Part 2, Parting of the Ways. I cannot believe I'm as much of a nerd as to remember that.
I'm really thankful for it at the moment, trust me. Yeah, I don't think anyone particularly minded about that, because say what you like about Rose, and yeah, people can say a lot about her, at least there was some kind of build-up, so there was some kind of emotional connection to it, but Clara, we barely got to know anything about her, because, to be honest, very few of the episodes were actually about her. They're about following the Doctor and making quippy remarks, but they're not really about her character or any kind of progression or development. That's about...
Yeah, in a way, we kind of saw it go back to the really old Who formula, where the companions were just there to exist and give a foil to the Doctor. And now we're seeing just how bad an idea that really was.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I think also what rubbed some people up the wrong way was the fact that Clara always seemed to have the solution to quite a lot of the show's problems. Like, there's the whole Nathan Machina Leaf thing, and in Asylum of the Daleks, her projection pretty much could just hack into everything the Daleks ever did. And it also doesn't help that just before the finale, there were these two shorts that were on the Doctor Who website and on the interactive red button. Basically, there were these two videos, one of the Doctor talking about Clara and one of Clara talking about the Doctor. And in the Doctor's video, he's drinking, basically. You bloody bitch.
Oh god, that is the best image I've ever had in my life.
Yeah. Just the Doctor in a random corner of the TARDIS going, why did you bloody left me there?
I'm not afraid to leave. You're my show, why don't you?
But yeah, the exact quote is, Clara's come along, and she is perfect for me. She is exactly what I need at exactly the right time. That's the part that I think rubs some people up the wrong way.
Yeah, like, somehow at the same time, Clara is both unbelievably Mary Sue and unbelievably insulting to the very idea of companions, and in a way, a very unfortunate referendum on the show's part about women, because at times she's completely useless.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, to be honest, she isn't really bad as a character apart from Hyde. And her actor, what was her name? Halle Marie Combs, I think her name is. She doesn't...
Jenna Louise Coleman. Wow, that... R.I.P. headphone user. Ow.
Sorry. That's it. Yeah, that actress, she does a good job with the material she's given. It's just the character herself, basically there's nothing to her, and that's the biggest problem, really.
Yeah, it's like Charles Dance, aka Tywin Lannister, said, there's only so much a good actor can do to make a bad script work.
Yeah, pretty much.
But before we move on from Clara, I do want to say this about the 12th Doctor. You know what I hope for? You know what I hope for whenever he takes over? He's the same age as William Hartnell was, so I hope to God they go back to the Doctor as a mentor figure rather than a romantic interest. I had enough of that with Rose.
Oh god, yeah. Two things about the companions that have been annoying me as of late. One is the whole romantic interest thing that's constantly creeping in, mostly to satisfy shippers, I'm guessing. The other, and this is the other thing grated on me, is trying to find dramatic exits. We can't kill them, we just have to come up with more and more ludicrous reasons for why they can never be with the Doctor.
Yeah, this is a dark show. Virtually no children watch it anymore. Why are we buggering around death?
It's not like I want the companions to die, don't get me wrong. I would just like it if the companion exits were more like Martha's. No fake death, no trapped in another dimension, no time paradox, just Clara, after a traumatic event, saying, okay, I'm sorry, I can't keep going with you anymore. I want out for this time.
Yeah, and as many problems as I have with Old Who, because my god, that show was cheesy back then, I have to agree, because Tom Baker did the same thing with Sarah Jane Smith. They just parted ways. That was it.
Yeah, I would have been perfectly happy with the way Rory and Amy exited in The Wedding of River Song. The Doctor stayed away from them because he wants to pretend to stay dead. That would have been a perfectly fine exit in my mind. But no, of course not. We have to try and make it dramatic and some people crying for no readily apparent reason.
Yeah, honestly, I have to say that out of all of Tennant's companions, Martha was my favorite because she was normal in every way and left normally.
Yeah, that was true. And just also the fact that she was basically treated like crap but just came out and said it, unlike the others. Like, look, I don't want to be a substitute for the first companion, alright?
Yeah. There was no drama. She was normal and no nonsense. Also, she was a doctor, so we actually knew she was competent in some way.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, I would say the second half of Series 7, it had a lot of problems. I mean, there are one or two episodes that are basically fun fluff, but honestly, I would only recommend watching Cold War and The Name of the Doctor. Pretty much The Name of the Doctor fills you in on everything that happened in the other episodes, so I really wouldn't recommend watching them even on the basis of the myth arc. So,
yeah.
the myth arc that only happened like 2 or 3 episodes in. But yeah, that's my theory overall. But before we close off this video, we should probably discuss the whole big revelation at the end. That his secret is that there is someone who is and isn't the Doctor.
Yeah, an incarnation of him that didn't go by the Doctor, I guess.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. He's gonna be the kind of villain-ish in the 50th anniversary, and which is kind of interesting, although I'm guessing he's the villain, although there was one quote that apparently he would play the role Eccleston would play if he was willing to come back for the role. I'm not 100% sure how legitimate a quote that is, because it could just have been a rumor, honestly.
Yeah, I'm guessing that it is, because from what I hear, John Hurt's character is the actual 9th Doctor. Like, the one between McGann and Eccleston. Because if you remember, if you think back to Eccleston's first episode, he walked into Rose's apartment, right? Looked in the mirror and commented on his appearance as if he had just regenerated.
Yeah, that could be it, but the only thing I would then have slightly against that, and admittedly this is something that SF Debris put on it out, but it's something I do kind of agree with. There's this whole hype about how this Doctor is in fact a big secret the Doctor's trying to hide, that this is the one thing he's trying to hide from the world. So it feels kind of odd that if he is the Doctor between Eccleston and McGann, the one who caused a big time war, blew up the Daleks and destroyed the Time Lords, etc., it's kind of weird that he goes to such great lengths to keep this guy under wraps, but won't stop talking about what he did.
That is a very good point, actually.
Yeah, it's kind of, I won't reveal who he is. Oh god, I blew up everything!
There are some people that suggest that it wasn't so much the fact that this Doctor started the Time War and all those things. They're suggesting that he did something beyond the pale, even in comparison to that during the Time War.
That's another possibility. We don't know really all the details of the Time War. I mean, I assume, for all I know, someone's going to say that actually there's an audio book that covers the Time Lord. If there is, link me to it. I'd be very interested. But anyway,
I don't believe there is, but I can be proven wrong.
Personally, the idea I got is that he's someone who commits an atrocity in the future. Maybe something to that big final battle that caused his grave in the first place. Maybe that's just me. I mean, another possibility some long-time Doctor Who fans throw around is that he's potentially the Valiard, who's like an old villain who's supposed to be like the Doctor's last incarnation.
Well, from what I understand, he's less an incarnation and more like the Dream Lord. An aspect of the Doctor that took sentience between his 12th and 13th regenerations.
Yeah, that would make sense. So whether or not this guy is an incarnation or in fact like the last generation of the Doctor, that's another possibility, but I guess we'll have to wait and see with that. And ideally, with all of this build-up, it would be nice if he was going to play more of a villain role, because I think if he was teaming up with... It's been confirmed that both Matt Smith and David Tennant are going to be in this special. I think the two of them would just completely dwarf him, honestly.
And I hope he's a villain for another reason. John Hurt as a villain. That is a novel idea. He has a great presence for a villain. I saw that even whenever I first saw him as Ollivander in Harry Potter. Seriously, that's where I first saw him. But he has what would be a great presence as a villain, but he's always cast as red shirt cannon fodder who dies. He was Sean Bean before Sean Beaning was cool.
Somewhere John Hurt's going, that roller stock should be mine. I guess that's our theories about it, so we might as well bring this video to a close. But first, Sven, any last things you want to say about Doctor Who whilst this box is still here?
For my final thoughts, all I'll say is this. I'm not looking forward to Matt Smith's exit, but I hope to God Stephen Moffat gives him a better exit than he did Amy and Rory.
Well, it's a Christmas special, so here's hoping. And yeah, my final thoughts, Steve, you're a good writer. Please pick up the quality a little bit, or at least try and get a slightly better budget. But that said, I'm still really excited for the anniversary, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, November cannot come soon enough.
It's really true.
But that's all the time we have for now, so until next time, I've been the Jonin Monkey.
And I've been Sven the Crusader, traveling the Tice Fame Continuum.
That was Monkey Broadcast, a monthly review and discussion show hosted by the Jonin Monkey and Sven the Crusader. If you feel that you've been the subject of slander or that your copyright has been misused, please PM me and I'll try and get round to fixing it as soon as possible. We also welcome any comments, be it feedback or your own viewpoints on any of the things we've discussed. Until next month, have fun kids!